Hey, how's it going, ladies and gentlemen? This is Retroplex, and welcome to the first video of 2025. I hope everyone's 2025 is off to a very good start, and what better way to start the new year off with a very long overdue game review. A game that I wanted to review for quite some time now, and that game is Sonic X Shadow Generations. When this game was first announced, we all thought this would just be a generic remaster of Sonic Generations that just looks exactly the same as its original predecessor, with very slightly enhanced graphics and boosted frame rates. That's until our beloved Ultimate Life Form Shadow shows up in frame and reveals that this isn't just a remaster. Oh no. We would be getting a completely new story campaign with Shadow as the main protagonist. And this is a pretty huge deal since Shadow hasn't been a playable character since Sonic Forces, the most mediocre Sonic game of all time. So all of the hype around Shadow Generations just makes a lot of sense. Now before I talk about the rest of what Shadow Generations has to offer, let's give Sonic Generations some love, shall we? One major change that they made in the Sonic Generations remaster is the rewritten cutscenes. And I heard people saying that they really like the cutscene changes, while on the other hand, I've heard some people say they dislike the change. There's really not much in between. Like in the new cutscenes, they edited out the part where Sonic is pushing Amy out of his sight, or the other scene where Amy effortlessly pushes Knuckles into a tree. It's even revealed that classic Sonic ate the rest of Knuckles' island, I guess. And classic Sonic is still completely mute in this game, which really makes no sense at all since classic Tails and classic Eggman has like a full-on monologue. But what I really like about the new cutscenes is that modern Sonic actually responds when he rescues his friends instead of emoting awkwardly. You can also find different chows throughout the levels, and if you pre-order the game, you get access to the Sonic Adventure Legacy skin, and if you're subscribed to the Sonic email newsletter, you also get access to the Sonic Jam skin for classic Sonic. But besides that, not much has changed in the remaster. This game does an excellent job showcasing the history of the past Sonic games with these amazing levels, with each one having two different acts. Act 1 for classic Sonic, which is entirely 2D, and Act 2 for modern Sonic with 3D levels, designed to use his boost mechanism and homing attacks. This game is set to take place on Sonic's birthday, and the gang throws him a surprise party. And then out of nowhere, everyone gets sucked into the time portal by the Time Eater, and Sonic finds himself in the white space all alone. What a way to celebrate your birthday by watching all your friends get sucked into a black hole. Now it's up to Sonic to play through each zone to rescue his friends, and that's when he encounters classic Sonic. All the zones you play through come from the iconic games from the past. There's Green Hill from the first Sonic game on the Genesis, the iconic City Escape from Sonic Adventure 2, Rooftop Run from Sonic Unleashed, and much more. These levels are really fun to play in general, but trying to collect all the red rings and the chows can just be a pain in the ass to do, as you have to take different routes just to find one ring, and then play the level again just to find the other ones. The music in this game is also amazing, with Act 1 having some like retro kind of 90s vibes that fit classic Sonic, while the Act 2 music is more energetic and the type of music that you would listen to while running a marathon, which perfectly suits modern Sonic. This game also has some really interesting missions known as the challenge acts that you complete assigned by the other characters, whether that's treasure hunting with Knuckles, find the chows with Cream, or play hide and go seek with Espio. These challenges can be pretty fun as well, but like I said in the levels, they're pretty difficult if you're trying to go for that S rank. Then we've got the boss fights, which are honestly pretty tricky for the most part. And of course, these bosses are based on the other Sonic titles, with classic Metal Sonic from Sonic CD, Shadow and the Space Colony arc from Sonic Adventure 2, Perfect Chaos from the first Sonic Adventure, but then there's the final boss with the Time Eater, along with classic and modern Eggman. And if I'm gonna be honest, this boss kinda sucks, as I find it to be extremely tedious and not very helpful at all, as you got all of Sonic's friends being a whole f***ing cheerleader squad, just spoon-feeding you useless tips and tricks at you while you're just trying to beat the boss. It's just so irritating. I'm just trying to lock in, beat the shit out of the Time Eater, but how the f can I do that if I'm constantly hearing everyone yelling stupid shit at me? Just shut the f up and let me figure this shit on my own! I'm sorry for the mini crash out, but I think I can say this for everyone who has dealt with this torturous boss fight. It's just not fun to play. Then the ending picks up where it started, with everyone back at Sonic's party. Then classic Sonic and Tails go back to their world. And there's also this pretty funny ending scene with classic and modern Eggman trapped in the white space, trying to figure out a way out, and they're just going back and forth at each other. It's pretty hysterical. And that's pretty much all of Sonic Generations. But this video is not over yet, as we need to talk about Shadow Generations. And this game is so much different compared to Sonic Generations in terms of gameplay, storyline, characterization. As obvious, Shadow's the protagonist, and the plot is connected to Sonic Generations, as Shadow is seen in the space colony arc on the phone with Rouge, and she asks Shadow if he'll be at Sonic's party, and Shadow gets sucked into the white space as well. And I really love the hub world. Unlike in Sonic Generations, the hub zone is entirely 2D, but in Shadow's story, you can run around freely in 3D, and you can explore so much more with completing puzzles and finding chests that contain different pieces of artwork from past Sonic titles. They definitely took inspiration from Sonic Frontiers for this game, and I love it. The controls in Shadow Generations just feel so right. The gameplay just feels so nice and responsive. I really hope that Sega keeps this momentum going for the future Sonic entries. Same goes for the storyline as well. The side characters in this game are also really consistent with Rouge, Omega, Orbot, and Cubot. Well, actually, they were kind of trolls in this game, as they ask you to find all the nuts and bolts scattered throughout the zone to reassemble their rocket ship, only to reveal that their ship was just some fucking cuckoo clock. Really? Come on, man. Yeah, and if you play on 100%ing this game, collecting all the pieces for Orbot and Cubot should be the last thing you worry about, as it does absolutely nothing. Oh, and Big the Cat's here too. I was wondering where he was at Sonic's party. And it's basically the first time he and Shadow interact. I can see these two being pals and going fishing together one day. Shadow literally fucking smirks when he sees Big. I'll be waiting for Sega to release the Shadow and Big fishing game. I'll be waiting. And Shadow also reunites with Maria and Gerald Robotnik from the past, and Shadow uses this as an opportunity to attempt to change Maria and Gerald's fate to prevent their deaths. And I also really love how Shadow reacts when he sees Maria again for the very first time, and then quickly realizes that something's wrong and tries to figure out what has happened. There's also this really sick cutscene where Shadow encounters Sonic, which makes like a parallel connection to the Sonic Generation storyline, and they recreate the iconic Shadow and Sonic one-on-one fight, but in Shadow's point of view. It would have been so cool if we can actually play the fight, but it's just cut down to the cutscene. It does make sense though, since Shadow would have to lose to Sonic, so Sonic can take the Chaos Emerald and defeat the Time Eater. But it's shortly revealed that Shadow swapped out the Emerald with a counterfeit, and has Rouge swap out the Emeralds again once he defeats Black Doom. And I absolutely love the levels in this game as well. Like in Sonic Generations, each zone has two acts. Act 1 that is 3D based, and Act 2 that is 2D based, with returning levels like Space Colony Arc and Radical Highway from Sonic Adventure 2, Rail Canyon from Sonic Heroes, Kingdom Valley from Sonic 06. They even brought in levels from the more recent Sonic titles, with Sunset Heights from Sonic Forces and Chaos Island from Sonic Frontiers, so it looks like we're also time traveling to the future as well. And in these levels you gain access to Chaos Control to freeze time for a few seconds, and this ability is an absolute game changer, because not only does it freeze time, but it also slows down your timer too, which can be extremely beneficial if you're trying to go for that S rank. And halfway through playing the levels, the zone drastically changes into this distorted section of Radical Highway called the Doom Zone, where you're chasing around Doomsday, and the cinematography of these levels are just phenomenal. Sega was definitely cooking with these levels, and just recently we just got the new DLC Tokyo level based off the third Sonic movie, and they even got Keanu Reeves to voice movie Shadow in this level. And I think this DLC is an amazing way to promote the Sonic 3 movie. I just wish we could have gotten more from this DLC, like including an Act 2 for the zone. It would have been so cool to play the Tokyo zone in 2D, and it's such a shame that you can't even use the movie Shadow skin outside the level. But regardless, I still had a lot of fun with this level. And throughout the game, Shadow unlocks these really awesome Doom abilities that include the Doom Spears, Doom Blast, Doom Surf, Doom Morph, and the most broken one of all time, the Doom Wings, which is basically an alternative to Shadow's super form, where you have to collect 50 rings and you'll just be flying around the levels. And like in Sonic Generations, this game also has the Challenge X that you play to earn the boss keys. Unfortunately, this game doesn't have too many boss fights, but honestly, these boss fights are so good that it kind of makes me forget about it. These bosses are an absolute blast to play, with returning villains that include Bio Lizard, Metal Overlord, Memphis Tennessee see in Neo Devil Doom, and each of these bosses implement the Doom abilities, which makes these bosses even more fun. And the game ends with one of the saddest moments in any Sonic game as Shadow sees that Gerald and Maria are starting to fade away into their own point in time now that Doom is defeated. And Shadow tries to take the real Emerald back from Rouge and use Chaos Control to stop them from vanishing, but Maria stops Shadow and tells him that they don't want to be frozen in time, and encourages Shadow to help his friends. And it's really emotional as Maria tells Shadow that she will always live in his heart. After Gerald and Maria fully vanish, Shadow goes with Rouge to help Sonic, and as he passes by Rouge, he sheds a tear, showing that Shadow does have feelings like everyone else. And that's the end of Shadow Generations. I think it's safe to say that Shadow Generations absolutely exceeded my expectations. When I saw the first Sonic X Shadow Generations trailer, I didn't expect too much. I thought we were just gonna get like an expansion with new levels that you can play as Shadow, but we got so much more than that. We got a fully fledged storyline with updated graphics, amazing cinematography, excellent characterization. This is basically the closest we'll get to a Shadow 05 sequel, and it's fantastic. Sonic Generations, it's great at all, but Shadow Generations just so much better in my opinion, giving Sonic Generations an 8 out of 10 and Shadow Generations a 9.2 out of 10, giving Sonic X Shadow Generations as a whole an 8.9 out of 10. This game is fantastic. Hope you all enjoyed my review on Sonic X Shadow Generations, and if you did, feel free to hit that thumbs up button, and if you want more videos like these, feel free to hit the subscribe button below. These videos take a lot and time and effort, so your support is greatly appreciated. That's all I got for today. Till next time, bye-bye.
It'll take more than that to defeat us!
Like a homing shot!
You think I don't know that? You stupid